Hey, welcome back to Next Third, Best Third. I'm David Fenwick, founder and host, and I'm joined again by Taylor Leys, my dear friend, the producer, and the do everything here at Next Third, Best Third. And Taylor asked me yesterday, he said, I think we should do an episode addressing what's happening in our country with the Charlie Kirk assassination and the responses. And at first I was hesitating.
Me too.
Because there's so much out there, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy, but I really felt like, the dialogue and conversation is important. And so you might not agree with what comes out of this conversation, and that's okay, right? Because this is what the whole thing's about, free speech and dialogue. And so, buckle up, let's see where we go.
Yeah. I mean, because it's honestly, it's not just about Charlie Kirk. It's just like the concerns surrounding it all.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, this is a memoir for Charlie. Like, no, this is a discussion surrounding but if this didn't happen, if Charlie survived or he never even got, shot and killed, we wouldn't be having this discussion really. Because just a few days before this, that poor girl on the bus, the Ukrainian who came over here to try to make a life getting away from war, was stabbed to death by some random dude. Like, no one knows the motive or anything. And then a couple days later, Charlie gets shot. So it's like, and there's no uproar, there's no huge covering of that poor girl from the Ukraine.
Absolutely.
And so you would just see that from other people who, X is the number one news outlet in the world. So X is like oh my gosh, it's like a dark pit of just people who think they're reporters and they think they know everything. So X has all this information that it just takes people down these rabbit holes, and it's just crazy.
Yeah. So, a lot of the conversation has been, how did we get to this place, right? How is America in this situation? But I was thinking about it. We've been in a mess for a long time. I mean, there's been differences of opinion. There's been people killed for political reasons. I mean, I was alive in the 60s during the civil rights movement. Wow. And Bobby Kennedy was killed for political reasons. Martin Luther King was assassinated.
Remember that?
I remember that. Yeah.
Wow.
And, go back 100 and some years ago, Civil War, we had brothers fighting brothers, cousins fighting cousins, our nation was divided. So this is nothing new.
Yeah.
It's just because of things like X and the internet and all this social media, and we're social media guys, information gets thrown out there, accusations, half-truths, out and out lies. There's just all this being stirred up.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point of because I've been seeing a lot of people how did our country come to this? We really what's happening with our country? Like, how did our country get here? And that's a great point. It's always been here. It's always been this way. And you and I were talking before, but talking about the founding fathers, we were founded on God and the biblical truth and everything. And I said, well, okay, cool. We're founded on something, but when you build a house and you have a strong, awesome foundation that's perfect and beautiful, or whatever you want to call it, over the years, there's cracks and things can happen. Pipes may burst. You have to do some construction. Sometimes people have to completely tear down the whole operation just to rebuild, or sometimes you just live on the cracks and suffer the consequences from it all. And it's the same thing. We were founded on something that was beautiful, but there was a lot of people who disagreed on what we were founded on. And but it's I didn't think about that. It's always been this way. We just went a long time without big time assassination attempt that ended up being successful since Martin Luther King and Kennedy. Right. And so because I would compare this to a Martin Luther King moment, because Martin Luther King wasn't a governor or political or a president. It's Charlie Kirk was just he was a citizen, just having an opinion, and he just became really popular because of social media.
Well, think about this. He was an ordained pastor. He was a strong believer.
Yeah.
And his beliefs were contrary to other Christian beliefs who were just against him. total opposite.
Yeah.
And this is what we're seeing in America.
Yeah.
I heard a story, and I've shared it with you a little bit, but I have a dear friend who's a pastor, and I've known him for over 20 years. Dynamic guy, great family. He's a black pastor. His church is real diverse, but it's predominantly, the majority are blacks. And he came out on Instagram, and he made a post, and it was, praying for Charlie Kirk's wife and kids, pray for our country. This is a sad time in our history. We should be praying. Yeah. And the backlash that he got from his congregation shocked me, and it shocked him. Wow. He ended up having to take that post down, and it wasn't that they were saying that we shouldn't be praying for him, but their question is why did you choose now this with Charlie Kirk's moment? When, like, the representative in June, the representative in Minnesota, I think her name was Horton, she and her husband were gunned down, assassinated, a political assassination, a murder. And there was another politician, he and his wife were shot, but they lived in Minnesota by the same guy, I believe. But they were like going, why are you choosing this moment, and why were you silent before? And the crazy thing is, he came back out and he reposted, and he explained his heart, and his heart was so good, because I know him. His heart is so pure, and he was like, no, this is what we've got to be praying, for this family. And he says, I didn't mean to stir anything up. I didn't mean to ignore this. And the thing about it that I found interesting is that his congregation and even himself disagree with almost everything Charlie Kirk spoke about and stood for. Wow. These are spirit-filled Christians, lovely human beings, and people who we're going to go and live eternity with, who completely viewed Charlie Kirk as an antagonist, a divisive human being, somebody whose political stances didn't represent them at all. And so here we are, even in the Church of America, we're split, and it's a political split. Yeah. And it just hit me. I go, man, I've got people I love, and there's people all over this country who disagree completely with that right-wing political stance that so many Christians embrace. Yeah, and I think it's interesting, though. It's kind of funny and ironic, because the church is like, we have all these celebrity pastors now. We got Stephen Furtick, we got all these cool guys who wear Gucci, and I mean, it's just a celebrity. They're on a stage. They have like bouncers, like, don't touch me, like, get away, like, protection, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. You're just like Charlie Kirk. Like, you're just a person who has an opinion, and you rally people every week, just like Charlie Kirk. That was Charlie Kirk's church. He had an outreach. That was his outreach. He would go to campuses and just talk. So, but he gave people the mic to talk back. But these pastors, you don't give anyone the talk back mic. You just stand on stage and say your opinion about what you think or feel the gospel saying, or what God's saying that week. And I mean, this is like a different rabbit hole, but I mean, like, no wonder people don't trust Christianity or the church right now, because it's so freaking confusing. Yeah. Because you have people like this with a massive platform, millions of followers, who state their own opinion too, just like Charlie Kirk. Yeah. And it's like, so why are people getting mad like that? Why is the congregation getting mad of, oh, pastor, I'm like, dude, the pastor, like, congregation, hello. That pastor is just like Charlie Kirk, but he gathers you every week, and you show up just like all these people who show up to Charlie Kirk's events. So interesting. Yeah. You know this about me. I'm pretty much apolitical, right? I mean, I have my viewpoint as a Christian, as a follower of Jesus, is that I'm a resident of heaven. Yeah. Bible says that we're ambassadors for Christ. Yeah. So that means my residence, right? My home is a kingdom of God, and I'm an ambassador here. And as such, we're blessed that we live in the greatest nation in the world. Yeah. I mean, I'm so grateful for everything we have. But I recognize that for me, I just can't see getting so involved in politics where I think a party represents God and the other one doesn't. Now, don't misunderstand. I understand that there's platforms and policy that align with the kingdom.
Yeah.
And I support those.
Yeah.
And I'm against those platforms and policies that oppose the kingdom.
Yeah. Same.
But we've allowed politics to kind of hijack Christianity. And as you say, no wonder there's people who are like young people in particular who saying, I don't want anything to do with church because it's connected to a partisan,
a certain party. Yep.
And I've got 6 kids, and they're your age and younger, and they're believers. They love God.
Yeah.
They totally oppose so much of what people we hang out with support.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's tough because honestly, like what I'm starting to realize and stuff that I'm realizing too that I try not to speak on because I don't have the full understanding and knowledge. I want to have conversations about it with people who may have it.
Right.
But I'm starting to see that the young generation, Gen Z, millennial, I'm a millennial, my generation, Gen Z and Alpha, like millennials, not so much, but like Gen Z and Alpha, they're really biblically illiterate. Like they just go by what they see on social media and hear about the Bible, and then they think that's what the Bible says. But it's just 30 seconds of people explaining what this means.
Right.
And then they take that and they go crazy with it. Like there's a big uproar like, oh, homosexuality was just, it was a word that just came out recently, that was just invented recently. So that homosexuality is not actually in the Bible. So in 15 seconds, I just told you that. And so I have all these kids where they're like struggling with identity that are just going to go crazy down this route
Right.
of like, well, homosexuality is not in the Bible, and they're going to spread all that. But I think the thing with like the intimidating thing with Charlie is Charlie was so knowledgeable. He had such history. He knew, like there were so many times people would come up and say things, and Charlie's like, that's not true. Like that's
Right.
wrong. That's not right. And I think that's why the church like had such a hard time with him. But the one thing I agree with Charlie on things is abortion. And, and then, spreading just the message of Jesus. Yeah, Charlie he was a little like, he was just a very bold person. Mm-hmm. And which sometimes it's hard when you come up against a bold person, you're kind of like, you just seem angry all the time and like bear poking a bear kind of thing. Yeah. Like in his debates, you got one person mad and then the other person is like giggling and laughing back. And it just seems like it's debating, but is it like almost making fun of? Because like you said, these young kids, they struggle with being bullied and made fun of and all that. So they struggle with identity stuff as a kid. But, when you're publicly laughed at or publicly like booed, because I've seen some of his videos and like some of these young kids get on there and they're like, hey, well, this is my name, this is my pronouns. And then the whole crowd boos.
Right.
And I'm like, guys, like that's not love. And to me, and I'm not saying this about Charlie, I'm just saying this about like what I've seen on social media publicly. And it's like I feel like the reason why a lot of the young people are running away from the church and running away from Christianity is because people are making God, Jesus look like assholes. And I'm like, that's not, last time I checked, that's not one of the fruits of the Spirit.
No.
And so I'm like, so if we're going to represent Jesus, I think, and that's why I feel like the church is having a hard time with, should I post about Charlie? Should I say this and that? But honestly, it's when it comes down to it, it's a father that got murdered.
That's right.
And he has a wife and kids.
That's right.
And it's really sad. The young lady that got murdered on the bus, she was a daughter to a family. She was trying to come over here for war. Yes, there's other people that have been murdered and all that. But a lot of people don't talk about it because it's not a big story. Yeah. But this happened. And then there are fathers, sons, daughters, mother. There's people like getting murdered every day.
Well, let's just, we have to be obvious, state the obvious. This is a big story because he was a big personality.
He was massive. He was one of the most listened podcasts in the world.
Yeah. One thing, and again, I don't listen to a lot of this type of thing, but there's a difference between debate. Like they were saying how, his whole thing was to have open communication and debate. Debate is not dialogue. And what we need is dialogue.
Yeah.
You know, that's what drives me crazy is, you know, there's a as believers, right? There's a scripture in Revelations chapter 12, and it talks about how we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And then it goes and it says, but the accuser accuses us before the Father or before God day and night.
Yeah.
That word accuse there in the Greek is categor. And that's where we get our word categorize or categories.
Huh.
So the accuser tries to put us in categories.
Oh, interesting.
Dividing us up, divide and conquer. And so you look at what we're buying into so much, Taylor, is we're buying into us and them.
Yeah.
We have categories, right wing, left wing, Republican, Democrat, black, white, gay, straight, all these categories.
Yeah.
And that's the accuser. Because our battle's not against flesh and blood, right? It's against these spiritual forces of evil, these powers, these principalities that manifest in the natural and in the flesh.
Yeah.
But so when we partner with this is where I get very passionate.
Yeah.
When we partner with categorizing, we're partnering with the accuser. We're not partnering with God.
Yeah, it's true.
Because in John 17, Jesus' prayer is that we would be one like he and the Father are one.
Yeah.
So his whole thing is about unity. His whole thing is about how can we show God rightly, as you were saying.
Yeah.
The enemy comes in and wants to separate us out. And darn it, as Christians, we buy into it.
Yeah, and see, I think that's the key thing there is when you say us and we, that means Christians.
Yes.
Not people who are unbelievers, who don't care about God, who don't want anything to do with the Lord or God. Like they believe their beliefs. And so I think that's interesting that you bring up the category thing, but that applies to the church. Like, but it gets more difficult and worse when it's categorized without a biblical like guidance. Like, so all these people, like they supposedly have found the killer, and it's a kid, 22 years old,
I saw that.
named Tyler or something like that. I mean, to me, I'm like, was he a believer in God? Who was this kid? No one really, I mean, some people know, but just the data that we have right now, it's just like, you know, what was this kid thinking? What mental capacity was he at? Like, was he just, you know, we talk about mental illness is crazy in this generation right now. And I mean, to me, I feel like social media is to blame. Like, because I was trying to keep up live with the moment, because I was working here in the studio, and I'm just sitting there, and since I'm a social media agency, I was just on social media, and all of a sudden I see like he got shot, and I'm like, oh my God, like what is going on?
Yeah.
And so I'm keeping up live, and it's what I saw on X just blew my mind. And especially I did see the video of the girl getting stabbed, and it's like they're showing it all. Like they showed the girl getting stabbed and her bleeding out and all of it. And then they showed over and over and over. People were posting over and over and over the shot that hit Charlie and the blood coming out. And I'm like, guys, we have like that stuff. There's people who get off on that stuff, man.
Right.
Like there's people who see that, and like if they're not mentally like stable, they're like, whoa, I like this. I want more of this, or I want to do this. So like for me, I'm like, where was Tyler at? Like what got him to the point where he felt like he can pull this? Like what was he watching? What was he like really into? What was he surrounding himself with that made him become this? So, because I mean, I'm a believer in this, and in the Bible, it's like what you behold, you become. Mm-hmm. So like whatever you behold, you're going to become that. So what was Tyler beholding? Like what was he surrounding himself with that gave him, because it takes a long process to go buy the gun, engrave those things on the bullet casings, to get in position, to pull the trigger, to try to get away. Like this was super thought out. Yes. Like, so what?
A true assassination.
Yeah. And so what is going on? And if Tyler is the guy, like, cause I mean, who knows nowadays, like we don't know who's doing what. I mean, like it could have been someone else and they're pinging it on this kid. I don't know. But still, regardless, the person to do this, the people, if there's people behind it, if there's instigators, like what kind of mental state are they at where they have surrounded themselves with? And that's concerning to me, because I'm like, I have kids, I have like little children, and Tyler is someone's little kid. Like Tyler is someone's child. Like the parents of Tyler, they weren't raising him to murder Charlie Kirk. Like they weren't like, and that's just like kind of,
that's another big part of the tragedy.
Yeah. And that's a whole other conversation we could talk about, because you could even take that thought and take it over to, the Middle East, and like how, the Middle East and like Hamas, they're training their children to murder and kill and all that. I mean, we can go all over the place with this, but to me, it's like looping this back around to social media and what people see. And that's why it's like so important. That's why you and I are having this conversation, is because people like us need to have the dialogue and conversation. Because I get stirred when people talk and say certain things to me. Like, you can poke me if you wanted, because you know me well enough. You know what gets under my skin, so you can poke me. Why? My wife knows me more than anyone, and she knows what gets under my skin. And so all my wife knows, like, oh, I need to stop. Or I know when I'm getting underneath my wife's skin, like, oh, I need to stop. But like, that's the thing that's like, I feel is important to have these conversations together, is because that pastor that made the post, he's not having dialogue with anyone. He just posted it.
Right.
And then he got all these people with opinions to bash him.
Right.
But I mean,
let me ask you this, because obviously social media, this is what we do.
Yeah.
How do you feel about a pastor just making that kind of a post, good or bad, whatever it may be? See, this is where I'm at. Why would we do that?
There's two reasons.
Okay.
One, you want to go viral.
Okay.
That's the honest, stupid truth. Like, one, because honestly, I'm seeing all these people posting about it. I could tell they're like, hashtag Charlie Kirk, hashtag Charlie died, hashtag, and they're using all these like things to get noticed.
Wow.
And I'm like, why? So, dude, why are you posting? Because you want to be seen?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, cool, whatever, dude. Like, you just want to grow and go viral and get your followers and whatever. But I think there's genuine people out there that are saddened by it. And like, actually, we have a client that was on stage with Charlie Kirk being interviewed, and she's a beautiful person, and she was there like as close as you and I to Charlie Kirk, having a beautiful conversation. And so I'm like, those people are hurt and broken and torn because they knew Charlie. Like, all these people who are posting for this don't know Charlie. They only seen all this stuff, but like, there's people out there who do. But also, I mean, honestly, I think the smartest thing to do is just go live. Like, don't make a post about it, but go live and have a conversation about it.
Right. Well, see, this is you and I are dialoguing, with everyone here.
Yeah.
And, I want to connect it to our mission, next third, best third. But I'm speaking specifically about a pastor of a church.
Yeah.
To me, because, I'm a pastor.
Yeah.
What I would do instead of
I don't know if you knew this, I'm an ordained pastor too.
Come on.
Yeah. I mean, I want to get reordained because the church that ordained me, but anyway.
We can do that. But, but anyways, what I would do in this case is I wouldn't get on social media and post. What I would do is I'd have a dialogue on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
This Sunday morning with the church that I pastored. And I would say, hey, let's just process this together.
Yeah.
And I'd start sharing my heart. And I'd have a microphone, and I'd say, if you've got opinion on this, let's do this. Let's talk.
Yeah.
And have a real dialogue, because that's where you get healing. Me just stating something, even something as, hey, just pray for his wife and kids,
Yeah.
Do I really need to put that out there? Do I really need to? And yet people are entitled to.
Yes. Well, but that's the thing is, like, you see someone else do it, you're like, well, maybe I should do it, or like, I mean, but for me, like, we did it on Jesus on Every Screen, because we saw what Charlie Kirk was doing for our young generation. Like, I mean, he was a huge advocate about Jesus. He brought up Jesus constantly. He posted about Jesus constantly. So for us, I'm like, he posts about Jesus more than most other like big time leaders would.
Yeah.
So, and he had millions of people following him.
Yeah.
So millions of people were seeing Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Like, and he would post things like, we need revival in our country. Like, we need Jesus to come and change our country. Like, he was posting things like that, which I'm like, that's awesome. That's great. I like that. So for us, I made a post like pray for him. And then I actually grabbed 2 of his posts where he posted about Jesus a lot. And I added that in there because I was like, I'm praying. I'm saddened because we're losing such a big voice about Jesus. Like, yeah, he was talking about a lot of political things and all of that. But to me, what I saw is this guy had a bigger platform than me. It was reaching millions more younger kids than me. Mm-hmm. And he said Jesus a lot in it. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's like, that's why for me, I felt like I needed to make a post about it because I'm with him when it comes to spreading the love of Jesus. Yeah. Well, spreading the name of Jesus, because I know there's been some moments where it didn't seem like a love of Jesus, but he's still bringing Jesus to people where they could get curious to find. Mm-hmm. Like that girl that showed up at our church, she found Jesus on social media.
That's right.
And she looked up God and found that out. She got saved through social media, and then she came to church, our church, and got baptized because she found Jesus on social media. So yeah, anyway.
So thank you for explaining it that way, because now you've convinced me, because my thought was, we have no business. Why are we doing this? But I see the value in it. So
yeah, there's value, but just, I mean, honestly, you just ask yourself, why am I going to do this? Why am I
What's your motivation?
What's your motivation? And like, I see friends, people, they're posting it, and I could tell you just want to get seen and liked and all that stuff. Like,
So, as we talk about this and talk about dialogue, I think this is really important, and it's important to our listeners, is because, we talk about being intentional about your thought life.
Yeah.
Obviously your physical condition, your emotions, your relationships, right? And then these things that we call the spiritual attacks of your identity, and those spiritual attacks of your identity a lot of times are tied into things that are in the political arena also, you know? And I think that as men, as we're investing in trying to really grow and make the next third our best third, right? Yeah. Is that we need to understand that, first off, there's a search for significance. Mm-hmm. These people young people who are having gender identity, people who are struggling in all these different areas, they want to be seen, and they want to be heard, and they want to be valued. Yeah,
but you're right. But then there's a way deeper one too, where some of them just want to watch the world burn.
Oh, no, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah, but you're right. Like some of these, but it starts with that.
Right.
Like they want to be seen and heard to the point where they're not seen and heard and valued. They go down that route. Yeah. And that's like, to me, I mean, a part of next third, best third is like, mental health and your thought process. And that's where it kind of like goes back to, be careful who you surround yourself with, but also like be careful if you have children, if you have friends and family. Like, I mean, if you're a good person listening to this, go be around those people that you feel like maybe they're struggling a little bit mentally.
Yeah.
Because like you just never know. You could stop the next, Tyler or whoever the person is that, you could prevent this. And I mean, yeah, but you're right. Like these, because this was a kid, 22. He was not developed yet. He hasn't gone through much life to even rethink things. And
my daughter who just got her doctorate in education, brilliant woman. And, but she taught me something I didn't realize, is that especially in men, the male mind and the male personality really doesn't mature until around age 30 or so. And so we think that these 24-year-olds, 22, but they're, like you said, they're not fully, they're just not, but in my own home, and I've had to learn, I was not a good communicator with my kids. Mm-hmm. I was a good dad. I loved them, but I didn't have real. I had one of my daughters the other day call me up, and she wanted to have a real conversation about something that really meant something to her, and I saw that I had failed, you know, and we had the conversation. She thanked me for it and everything, but at this point in my life, I'm starting to be intentional about my relationships and the conversations I'm having with my own kids. And I'm seeing that I had a lot of assumptions, you know, like my daughter who's getting her Master's of Divinity, you know, she's right now at a conference, and it's Christians for Palestine. And so she's
Christians for Palestine.
For Palestine, yeah. Oh. She's at this conference and fully supporting, you know, the Palestinian Christians who are being, you know, the atrocities to Palestine. And she and I've had some real, I mean, we've had some amazing conversations, but it's the dialogue. Like I could just say, oh, Christians for Palestine. And what does that trigger? Or what does that make you think?
Yeah, well, to me, it confuses me. But at the same time, because I've done my research, there's some Palestinian people that don't want anything to do with the genocide that they're about.
Oh,
and
no.
So like there's like 2 million Palestinians that live in Israel that are like, we love Jews. Like we love Israel. We love being here. Like we don't agree with any of this. So like there's I mean, I've even heard some Palestinian people becoming Christians. So like to me, like there's two sides to it. Like, well, what is this conference about? Is the conference about Palestinians murdering the Jews and eradicating them from the face of the earth? If that's about that, then I will be like, okay, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
but
it's not that.
Yeah, it's not that. But I'm just saying, like, you're right. Like when you said that, what happened? Like I got triggered a little bit because I was like, what are you talking about? But with the right dialogue and knowledge, you know. But I think that's.
And she and I've had amazing conversations.
Yeah.
Meaningful, drawing closer to each other.
Yeah.
You know, we've had so many conversations about the gender confusions, and so many conversations about the LGBTQ, and so many conversations about politics. You know, the Christian nationalism and things like that. And it's because we're having real dialogue that she and I are growing closer through it. Right? We don't agree on everything.
Yeah.
But we love each other in the disagreement, you know. And, you know, this is something I thought about earlier. You know, if there's things you know, if we're promoting being able to have free speech and true dialogue, and, you know, you're hearing people and you disagree with them, it's okay to be angry.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. It's okay to be angry against a platform, angry against a policy, angry against somebody's thoughts and their opinions. But what does Scripture say? It says, in your anger, do not sin.
Yeah. It's true.
So there's nothing wrong with anger. There's nothing wrong with disagreement.
Yeah.
But what is wrong is when we take it to the extent that we saw, and we have seen not just with Charlie Kirk, but with
violence
for hundreds of years in our nation. We disagreed with, you know, there was political disagreement that called for the assassination of JFK. Yeah. That was political disagreement that did that, you know.
But I mean, going back to the Bible, there's been violence since the beginning. Yeah. You know, Cain and Abel, like it's like the first recorded murder in history. So I mean that it's throughout our life. Like it's human. I wouldn't say human nature, but it's humanity. That's what happens in humanity. There's people that God has given free will to, and that's the key thing. Is free will. Like we have the free will and the right to decide what we do with our lives and the decisions that we make. And you know, it's just tough. And that's the thing, like, because you and I, we believe in God and believe in Jesus. Like I look at these like people that are taking the Bible and just like becoming, I don't know, just like superpower Christians, superhuman, like spiritual people and stuff. But I'm like, but when I look at I'm like, did Jesus say, go into the world and prove everyone wrong? Yeah. No. He said, go into the world and, you know, make sure that you bash people and make me look like a jerk, and so they can come to me. Like, no, he didn't say that. Yeah. He said, go, love well, and make disciples. And like, so I feel like a lot of these people are especially the ones that are super outspoken, and they get under my skin because I'm like, if I wasn't a Christian, if I didn't really know God and I was an outsider, I wouldn't want to be a Christian because of how you're representing Christianity. I'm like, I don't want to be what you're a part of, because you just seem like a jerk.
My daughter, who is getting her Master's of Divinity, she went to an extremely liberal school in the Northeast, and she went there as a Christian, and she told me early on in a conversation, she says, "Dad, it's interesting. Nobody here, there's no Christians here, And she says, and they associate Christianity with the Republican Party, and they're not interested in Christianity. However," she said, "they're really interested in my faith, and they're interested in Jesus."
That's interesting.
I mean, that is the message.
Yeah.
People it's Jesus. It's not a religion, right? We know that. When that...
and we've turned Christianity into a religion.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's not supposed to be.
Into a political religion is what we've... in this country.
Christianity is not... Just so you know, people, Christianity is not supposed to be religion.
No.
You heard it here first.
First. But no, and it's so important. And, even you had said something when I brought up the accuser of the brethren, right? That's about the church. It's about believers. But there's a heart to that. And there's a message that goes to the people who we disagree with, or to people who don't share our faith. We can't put those people who don't share our faith into these categories, because if we do, we're partnering still with the accuser.
Yeah.
So it's real important that our heart is not... They're gay, they're transsexual, they're liberal, they're hater, whatever. We can't do that.
It's funny. It made me think of this. We do that because we treat them like they are a child of God, but they're not yet. And in the Bible, we are supposed to call out other Christians, call out, keep you and I can keep you accountable, and say you're doing something wrong and against biblical truth. I'm like, David, dude, you are totally in the wrong.
Yeah.
But say you weren't a Christian and you're part of the LGBTQRS, whatever they're called, community. I'm not gonna be like, bro, you're wrong. No, that's not what God told us to do. God told me to love you and be like, hey, you're part of that? Oh, cool. So what do you do? Or oh, wow, that's interesting. Oh, okay, cool, interesting. But I may not agree with you, but I feel like Christians are treating non-believers like they're part of the kingdom.
I have so many friends who live lifestyles that some people in the church would say are wrong, and probably in some extent are.
Sure.
But I love these folks, and they love me, and we have great relationship, and we build it on I've had people come up to me and say, "Man, I don't share your faith, but you sure live your faith well."
Yeah, that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Why would I want to drive them out? Why would I want to accuse them? And they, it's the same thing. So over the years, I've had people. You've seen it where people are trying to discuss and debate Scripture, and yet the Bible says that someone who's not filled with the Spirit can't understand Scripture.
Yeah.
So why would we be trying to have this scriptural debate with people who they don't have any belief? There's no faith for it.
Oh my, yeah. I love that, because that's I feel like is the cure to the church in America, is stop trying to fix everybody. That's not your job. Right. Your job is to bring them to Jesus and let Jesus and the Holy Spirit convict them and fix them.
My job is to love others. Yeah,
and you do a great job at that. So, but I mean, and that brings another point of when in my early 20s, I went through a divorce, and I was devastated, broken, battered. I got kicked out of a couple of churches, which is stupid and wrong. I don't understand that. And then I ended up I started working at different restaurants and bars and stuff. And the people that didn't know God, that didn't go to church or anything, they were so consistent and so loving and accepting, and dude, you're going through Brahma, bro. Let's go out for a drink. Let's go talk about it, And I'm like, well, what? And so I actually started to love the world better because the world loved me better.
Wow.
And the church was Uh-oh, you went through a divorce. Uh-oh, you're going through this stuff. Sorry, we can't have you come to our church. Instead of like, oh man, I'm sorry. You know what? Let me bring you in closer so I can give you Jesus. So I had a few friends, very few, got stuck by me through it all, and they were still there for me when I would call them and I'm like drunk and stuff. They're like, hey man, how are you doing? Okay? Oh man, well, hey, I love you, man. Just let you know, you can call me anytime, you know? Yeah. And I remember those people, but there was a lot of people that were like, bro, I can't have you in my life anymore. And I'm just like super confusing, but I actually went after all this love that I was getting from the world for like 6-7 years. And yeah, I ended up becoming an alcoholic and my anxiety was through the roof. And like I was partying and doing all this stuff, terrible things. But the thing is I was like, I beholded the world love because it loved better than the church love. And so, but I just became more of like the world, which is nasty and dark and not fun. But and I still kind of see that somewhat sometimes, but I've been advocating against like, oh, if someone is a bad person or if someone's going through a bad time in their life, we should shun them. Yeah. And not love them. So
it's interesting kind of bringing it back to where we started. You know, there's a half of America disagrees with the Charlie Kirk's platform that he had. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And a lot of that half is believers in Christ. Yeah. You know, and but it comes down to, first off, we should in America be able to have and absolutely have to have the right for free speech. Yeah. Right? No matter what. Yeah. Violence is never right. No. However, it's not new.
No, yeah, it's not.
We've had this forever and ever
Since
and ever.
the beginning.
Because of social media, because of the platforms X and all these, you know, we're getting more and more opinions and more information out there. But what we need is not opinions and not information. We need real dialogue, and we need love. Yeah. You know, we need a nation that can say, hey, even though I don't agree with you, I see your value as a human. Yeah. But the hate and the division is it's so out there, right? We think it's worse now because there's so much available. Yeah. But back before there's the internet, it was out there too. It wasn't broadcast, you know? Yeah.
I mean, and you know, especially like you brought that up, like there's so many people, a lot of young people that are making videos rejoicing that Charlie's dead. And like I haven't watched a ton of them, but I've just seen them and they're making funny videos and like rejoicing and doing all this stuff that this person died. And I'm like, that is so messed up. Like that's mentally like you are to celebrate a murder of someone, like, and then to me it doesn't make sense because like who do they look up to and all of that? Like I'm like, so if they look up to George Floyd, like what if all these people were like rejoicing that George Floyd got killed and died or something? Like how would they respond? And so to me I'm like, why would you do that? Like don't just be quiet. Like and at the same time, if you're like happy someone's dead, like you probably need to go to therapy and no question, and right? Something's wrong with you, because I would never like, there's thoughts of, Hamas and like all these things, like there's terrorists out there, there's people who want to kill you, but like, I'm never going to be like, yeah, we got him, he's dead and all that. I know people rejoice when Osama bin Laden finally got shot and killed because he did a lot of stuff to America. But I mean, like, even still, like, my whole body in me wouldn't rejoice like someone died. But like a thought like, oh man, we took out the threat.
Kind of a relief.
Yeah, kind of a relief feeling, but not like a celebratory. Like, but I mean, I know, like, but the things like that, man, that's really, especially with young people thinking that's okay, and then they post about it, and this loops back to social media, is these young people are doing it, other young people are going to see it, and then they're going to be beholding it. And then, so I don't know, man, it's just wild.
Again, it's not new. It's escalated. It's more in our face, but the answer will never be found in political forums, political policies, right?
No.
That's never going to be the answer. My kids will tell you, I always tell them that no matter what we're facing, no matter what we go through, you know, all the struggles, you know, the differences. I mean, we talk about, my kids and I have different opinions on abortion. We have different, you know, all these different things. But I always come back to this. There is an answer. And it's Jesus.
That's right.
Jesus is the answer to everything.
But the right Jesus. Because there's a lot of different versions of Jesus out there that people are trying to claim they know. But there's only one true Jesus.
But again, do we represent him?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, because that's really what it comes down to for us as believers. But I want to encourage all of our listeners today is that the important thing is to be intentional, right? The important thing is to look at people who you might disagree with, right? Yeah. And look at them through the eyes of saying, hey, they're still children of God. They have human value. They have eternal value. And we've got to stop partnering with this accuser who puts us in the categories. Yeah. And I know that's hard, but we have to do it. You know? We have to do it. We have to love well, and we have to be intentional. And it starts with us, and it starts with our immediate relationships. You know, it starts with our families. It starts with your sphere of influence. And if you can do that well, then that sphere of influence will grow. Yeah.
I mean, and then even, you know, wrapping up this discussion about it is like things we can do, you know, because we're like, oh, what's this topic about? Oh, like how to stop an assassination. No, it's just like, what do we do? How to, like, learning from this like, because it's all over, it's everywhere. Like, we're gonna see it. You can't turn on the TV or get on social media without seeing something like it. But I mean, one thing for me is like thinking about your kids, thinking about your family. If you believe in Jesus, just pray. You don't have to have this like poetic prayer lined up. You know, that's the prayer that shifts the atmosphere. But it's like, just pray simple prayers like, God, just give our family peace, protect us. You know, just, you know, help our region, help our, you know, let us be love to people that we come across, you know, and then also just, maybe calling a family member that you may know is struggling or hurting, and just be like, hey, how are you doing? You know, just reach out to them. And because you never know what you could prevent, or you never know what could happen that could change the course of something that could be a terrible thing. And it's just, I would say this episode is mostly about like, you know, mental health and like, and then also just like understanding how to respond to things like this. And it's tough.
It is hard. And I'll finish with this is saying, you know, I believe one of the pillars, a big one, is going to be relationships and investing in the relationships, because there's guys like out there like me who had adult kids who come, you know, I realized that I didn't communicate well, but it's never too late, right? You can start now. And so if you're in that position where, you know, you find your kids and you are in total polar opposites of views of life and everything, you can start having real conversations, you know, and being intentional about that. So it's thought life, it's, you know, it's communicating, it's what are you beholding, what are you partnering with in life? Because no matter what your religious belief or your faith belief is, you do behold, what you behold, you become.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, so it's where you're putting your attention, right?
Yeah.
So, well, this was good, huh?
Yeah, it was good. It's hard, it's heavy. I mean, it's a sad day in America, but I mean, like you said, this is how it's always been this way. And so it's like, if you ask the question, what do we do to make America better? Well, I guess it starts with you, you know?
It does. It does. Well, if you enjoyed this, if you disagreed with it, whatever, you know,
please still like it.
Still like it, subscribe, comment, share.
Because we want to. This isn't like, oh, we're getting on here, blah, sharing our stuff. Like, if you have stuff you want to share in the comments, you can. And we'll respond, because I mean, we want to have that.
We want to have dialogue.
We want to have dialogue, but it's not like we don't want to have a debate and like, you're wrong, you're right. It's more of just like, hey, that's good. Here's my opinion on it. You know, or even if you have some more advice towards it, great, cool. But I mean,
that's right.
Yeah, that's what this is about.
Yeah. So good. Well, thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on Next Third, Best Third.